Welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you've watched some of my other videos, you will have seen that I finished writing the first draft of my current work in progress novel, which is a small town romance adult clean fiction. Lots of words there. My sister is currently editing it. She was my editor for the two self-published novels that I currently already have out. She's doing the third one. She's taking her time because work is very busy, and it's kind of a good thing for me because it means I get a good amount of space away from drafting, because I've been writing that for so long. It has been with me as a work in progress for about 3 years, and this is the first time it's off my plate and I'm not drafting, I'm not editing. My sister is editing, and I've got two colleagues at work who are also reading it and giving me their thoughts. So it is in other people's hands, which means I want to start getting a jumpstart on the planning of querying agents. So I have self-published 2 books. I don't have an agent. I'm not traditionally published because the first 2 books that I released were charity novels, which means all of the royalties that I make on them goes to charity, and I donate even a bit more than just the royalties as well with every book sold. Now that I've done that, those 2 books were sort of a massive learning curve for me, and now I want to be traditionally published. That is my dream. That is my goal, is to be able to see this third book on bookshelves. It's a standalone from the other 2 novels. The other 2 were YA novels. This one is an adult novel, but it's a clean adult romance, just because they're the type of books that I like reading. I don't love too much smart in a book. Anyway, my sister is editing it. I want to give myself some space, a minimum of 4 weeks from even looking at it and even thinking about it. I'm always thinking about it, but I don't want to be thinking about the plot. I don't want to make any edits. I just want some space from it. And so with that space, I thought I would start querying agents. To be traditionally published, what you need to start with getting an agent. And then once you get an agent, that agent will then query publishing houses like HarperCollins, Penguin Random House, all of those. So I can't do that myself. I have to go through an agent, and then that agent will help secure you a book deal and try and get you the best deal. They'll take a cut from royalties, etc. It's time to start querying agents and hopefully find one. I've been to a couple of talks which are for aspiring writers and things, and they've given me some really good hints and tips, and I've got loads of notes on my phone of resources to use to find the right agent, because obviously there are so many agents out there. There are tons. Some will specialise in clean adult romance, and I think agents typically will themselves have wish lists which they post online, and so I guess it's kind of like online dating, where you'll figure out what the agent's wish list is, and then if it links to the book you're writing, that agent would be suitable, and then you can query them, and then hopefully they'll get back to you. The agent query process is quite a lot. It's kind of like applying for a job, where you'll give them at the beginning of your book, you'll write them a letter, and that letter has to be unique to them, because you have to really sell yourself, but you also have to show them that who they are as an individual, and you want them to represent you. So it is very much taking me back to my law school application days when I was trying to get a training contract. So I do like writing letters. I obviously like writing, and I feel really proud of this book, so I'm excited to talk about it and write a letter to sort of showcase myself and also showcase the hard work that I have put in with this book, because I genuinely think it does deserve a traditionally published deal. I'm so proud of how much work I've put in and how much work my friends and family have put in by giving me feedback and stuff. So I'm excited for this next part of the journey. It's just quite scary. So it's quite research heavy, which again takes me back to my law mind, where I used to always have to do legal research, but now I'm going to research and try and find the right agent for me. There is also one little red herring in that I will query agents. I think I'm going to do it in rounds of 3 query letters at a time maybe, and then do another round of research and get the next 3. Or maybe I'll start, depending on what my research is like, I'll start writing a long list or an Excel and then prioritize them based upon obviously their wish list and what they want. If I feel like one really stands out to me and I think, oh my God, I would really love to work with them, I'll bring them up to the priority, and I can maybe go through that list in batches of 3, because writing a letter, I want to make it unique. I want to make it stand out. So I don't want to do too many in one go and duplicate letters and things like that. So I'm going to probably do a bit of research this weekend, try and get maybe a long list and see if I can prioritize it, and then maybe think about the top 3 I want to start writing actual query letters to. I need to wait for my book to come back to me and for it to be fully edited before you can query anyway, because an agent will want to see the first, they'll specify how many chapters or word count they want to see, and then once you've sent that, they might want to read the whole thing. You have to have a finished book before you can query in romantic fiction genre. So I obviously am just doing this a bit early and being quite organised, and I'm just using the break I have from editing my book quite effectively, I think. And I am travelling for work soon, so I just want to get on top of it while I've got a quiet weekend. But the red herring that I was mentioning before is that whilst, yes, there's a traditionally published route of getting an agent, getting a publishing deal via the agent, there is one publishing house that I have my eye on that say you don't need an agent, and that is because it was set up by an author called Anna Todd. Anna Todd is the person that wrote the After series. If you ever watched those movies or read those books, they kind of catapulted off of Wattpad, and Wattpad is a free website where people post books and they're writing, amateur writers. Typically it's fan fiction, stereotypically, and that's what Anna Todd's book After was originally, was a one direction fan fiction. And she put that on Wattpad. It had millions and millions of readers. And then from that, she then got a book deal, I think with Simon & Schuster, because of how popular it was. So they took it off of Wattpad, which was a free website, and then put it to a traditionally published book. And so she's not come through the publishing world or the author world in a traditional route. She came about it a different way. And so she set up a publishing house, and they also do film production. And she hugely advocates for changes in the traditionally published world. She wants to make it more accessible to more diverse authors and for more diverse routes into becoming a writer, because a lot of people do say to me, oh my goodness, you self-published 2 books. That means traditional publishing houses or agents won't want to touch you unless that self-published book sold millions and millions of copies. But because I did it for a charity, I feel like Anna Todd's publishing house would actually read that and understand it and wouldn't discount me. I don't know if I'm at a disadvantage with other traditionally published houses or even agents because I have self-published novels which are charity novels. I'll see what happens. I'll see how many rejections I get. I know I'm going to get a lot, because saying I want to be a traditionally published author is like saying I want to be a famous actor. I feel like I do have a big journey ahead of me, lots of rejections, and I know I need to remember and I need to look back on this video to know that it's not a reflection of my writing ability. It is just the world we're in. The publishing industry is so hard to actually get into. A lot of people know people in the industry. I don't know anybody. I do it all by myself. I have just taught myself how to write books alone, how to edit books. I watch so many YouTube videos to educate myself. So this is a journey that I've gone on solo, obviously with the support of my friends and family, and my sister for editing my book. If she ever watches this, she has to know how much I love her and how grateful I am, because other editors will charge thousands of pounds and that's something I can't afford. But anyway, that is a tangent for me saying this is going to be a really hard journey and it might not even happen for me, but I fundamentally believe and back my book so much that I'm so excited for this next stage, whatever happens. And look, if I don't in the next year or so hear back from an agent, then maybe I'll just self-publish it, because I'm so proud of it that I want people that follow me on Instagram or YouTube or TikTok and have followed my journey, they're desperate to read this book, and I haven't showed it to anybody yet because I want to get it in bookshops first if I can, and that is the dream, and I don't want to ever give up on it. But everything happens for a reason. I'm never going to stop writing if an agent rejects me. The reason I write is because it helps my mental health. It's another element and an extension of my therapy that I would just never change for the world. So I'm always going to write, whether it's with a traditionally published author and I'm able to quit my full-time job and I'm able to write full-time, amazing. If that doesn't happen, I will still self-publish. I will still write in my spare time. I will still write and just share it with friends and family, because I found my love and I found what I do want to do with my life. But I know that creative endeavors are never a guarantee that you'll make money. Some people even get a traditionally published deal and they don't make any money and they're still working full-time. I know some huge authors as well that had to work full-time jobs and it took them 10 years before they could quit. So kind of believe in everything happens for a reason. And so who knows, I might find an agent. Anna Todd's publishing house, which is called Frayed Pages, by the way, I didn't mention it. If there's any aspiring authors out there that think that sounds a really attractive publishing house, it's called Frayed Pages. I'll link their website in the description. Whatever happens will happen, and hopefully if I throw enough, mud at the wall, something will stick, or like spaghetti at the wall, something will stick. So this is exciting. I don't know what this video is going to look like because it really depends where my research takes me, but I'm kind of scared to query Frayed Pages first because that's the one that it's just in my mind and I know I want to query that. So I don't know whether querying others or practicing writing letters will make it easier to then write that query, because that query will mean the most to me. So we'll see how it goes. But then, hey, I might find another agent that I feel like resonates with me and I feel like I would connect with them really well and it might end up meaning more. Who knows? You guys will see this journey because I'm documenting it, which is so exciting to document it for myself and then also other people to see how I go with this journey. So let's get into the first round of research of just finding agents that I want to query, maybe making an Excel spreadsheet of the name of the agent, the name of where their employer is or the name of the actual agency, and then the wish list, because that's really important. You have to know the agent you're querying, what they like, what they don't like, and things about them. You have to really research that. So let's start gathering that list and I'll let you know how I go. I'm not sure if you'll be able to hear that I'm running a bath and Tom is watching the football in the background, but while the bath runs, I did a really quick Google on resources to find a list of literary agents that are just in the romance sector. And I found on Readsy, again, I'll link all of the resources that I reference. You can filter for the UK and romance. So I'm just having a little look through this list now, and then there's like a nice tick box that says whether they're open for queries or not. So I'll have a look through that and just pick out a few people, and then once I've got that list, probably narrow it down even more than that based upon other sort of books that they've published, got publishing deals for, etc. One tip that I actually heard when I went to a talk 2 years ago was, if you've got favourite authors, go to the back of that book, and in the acknowledgements the author will always 9.5 times out of 10 thank their agent. So if you liked the book, or you felt the book was sort of in a similar bracket, or if readers of that book would probably buy your book, then query that agent too, have a look and see if they're open to queries. That's a good way to do it. So I think I'm going to do that. I'm also going to do a bit of Googling on Use This Readsy website. And then there's also a book that apparently is available, but I think I can even get it from the library, which I probably will do because I think it's expensive, where it lists loads of different agents. It's kind of an old school way to do it, I guess, is actually using a book. But maybe most of them would be in there because they're in the book industry. So I'm doing a little bit of a Google at the moment, starting off quite broad, and then we'll see how I go. But this is the most terrifying part for me because I'm not scared of the rejections at all. I'm so used to it because I did like performing arts when I was at school. It's just more like, I don't know why it's scary, because I think it's more like if you don't end up with anything, then you have to figure out, well, what's plan B. But then even plan B doesn't seem scary to me. Like self-publishing this book, I wouldn't mind that at all. I self-published my first two. I just hope that I can fulfill this dream. It's just scary at making moves towards achieving your goals and your dreams, isn't it? So let's hope that this goes well. And it looks like there's tons of agents out there, so hopefully I click with one of them and they click with me and they like my letter. That's the other thing. That I think the scariest part is actually writing the letter and figuring out your elevator pitch, but that will probably be a whole nother video in itself of what I put in my query letters, what all of the different things you need as to make that query would be, because it's not just as simple as emailing someone and being, hi, please see my manuscript attached. There's so much more in there, and I can also share some of the resources that have helped me, but this video would be miles long if I did that in this one. So this one I will just be researching agents, and then when I start writing the actual query letters, I'll of course document that and we can do another video. But I'm just going to keep Googling. I think my bath is probably ready now, so I can have a little bit of a break as well. So I have done a bit of research. It's now Sunday. I actually hardly did anything yesterday. I looked at that long list of 10 possible literary agents that I'd found when I Googled it. And I briefly looked at it, and then I looked at it in more detail today. I've just been for a run and this. But it was warm enough to sit on the balcony and review the list again in more detail this morning, which was so nice. It was warm enough for an hour while I was still hot from running, and then as soon as I cooled down, we came inside. But I have gone through that list, and actually I didn't pick that many from it. And the reason being is because none of them really represented authors that was aligned with sort of my writing or what my story is about, my genre, and the particular themes and messages within the book. A lot of them do mention that they want diverse voices and things like that. So my mental health representation within my books should obviously hopefully appeal to them, but it might not. And so I've color coded it where I've got light purple for where I desperately want to prioritize that submission and writing to that agent, and then I've got the blue colouring where it's not as keen. But I've only actually pulled 4, including frayed pages. So the other 3 I have written on here, and then I've written it where I've put the agent name, the agency, the website, and then their guidelines / wish list, because each agent will have their own wish list of what they want. And some of it might actually be, I'll find, well, an author might represent loads of romance writers that weave in mental health into their struggles, and UK British authors, and then they might not want that because they already represent enough of them. So that's the other challenge I face when looking for someone that's kind of aligned with what my genre is about and what I think they would enjoy, because an agent will ultimately pick books that obviously are well written and they think they can make money from, but that they enjoy, because to back you and represent you, they have to love your work. So that is another thing to consider. So I've got 4 written, only 2 of them I want to query, one being frayed pages like I mentioned. The other one is the agent of an author that I've read and I really like, and actually has met my old flatmate. So that's the only connection I have, is that I know that my flatmate has worked with this author before but I've never met her or anything like that. I just saw her name and was like, oh, that's who my flatmates worked with. And that's funny because I remember saying earlier that I had no connections at all, but maybe it's just like I'm too scared. When I could have the possibility, I could have said, oh, can I speak to her? Can I reach out to her or something? Can I ask her questions? They didn't monopolize on that opportunity, so I've probably shot myself in the foot there. But anyway, we digress. That agent is not open for submissions. I went on the website and they'd closed it in January 2025 and they said they'd open it in March. So because we're now in March, hopefully if I keep an eye, and I'm not ready yet, they had this huge, on that website, loads of requirements for submission. So I think with that one, it will take me some time to write and get that submission ready for them. So with that, I can, hopefully they'll be open by the time I'm done. And that's the only other one I want to query. And also my book isn't finished yet. I haven't finished editing it. So I'm just doing the research now and then maybe prepping some letters and writing some letters, but I won't be able to query probably until hopefully June at the latest. I'm hoping May, but my sister's so busy with work. It depends when she can edit my book. And then I've got two other agents. One is from an agency that opened in 2009. And I liked that because they seemed a bit more like forward thinking, wanting to represent loads of different authors, etc. But the one agent that I do want to query, her sort of wish list at the moment is only psychological thrillers and LGBTQIA plus romance, and my book isn't that. So that's why I'm not prioritizing that one. And then there's another one who's actually from a really big agency, and I am a little bit scared of huge agencies. I think maybe I've got imposter syndrome, but then also I just don't know that they'll care about me, and I also think they won't like the fact that I've self-published 2 charity novels. So I'm not too keen on big agencies, but maybe if I get confident and I back myself a bit more over time, then maybe I will. So then I think my next phase now, which I'm going to do today, is go through some of my favourite books, or go through some of the books that I feel a reader would pick up if they also picked up my book, and then see who their agents are. I think that's a much smarter way to do it. So looking in the back of the acknowledgements, like I mentioned. So I'm going to go through my bookshelves now. They're very chaotic and they do need reorganizing yet again, but I'm going to pick maybe 4 of those. And then what I'll do is once I've got the agent name, I'll then go online. Then I have to look online to see if they're open for submissions, B, if my type of book is even on their wish list. They might say they've got enough of them. So that is my plan. That is what I'm going to do. And let's get on to the next round of finding more agents. So that was actually super quick. I didn't go through all of the bookshelves, especially the ones in the living room, because I was sat watching telly. I was looking at them when I was watching TV and I was like, all of these authors are huge authors. And I think for me, I'm probably better off not going for all of these huge names, more because loads of people are going to query them. And also I bet most agents that represent huge authors won't have submissions open. So I picked ones that I think are based in the UK, the authors are. So I think the agents will be based in the UK, or that I enjoyed the story, or they're not fully similar to mine. Like none of these are small town lakeside books, but I felt like if the agent enjoyed these, maybe they would enjoy my book. The one that I'm particularly keen to find out more about is the agent that represents Claire Daverley, because I went to one of her talks. Sorry, Tom is like banging around in the kitchen making so much noise, but I went to one of her talks, and this book is sad and it's a romance, but it's also like a nice romance too. And I think that this might be as close to in the same theme as my book as Claire Daverley's. So I think her agent will hopefully like my book. And I know she's UK based because obviously I met her when I went to that book talk, and she was really nice, and she was a debut author. So I feel like her agent will be promising. And then this one I actually can't really remember much about. I think this is an American book, but I read it ages ago and it's like a romance. It's a rom-com-y type book. So I'm just curious. I'm going to look at this agent. And then these I all believe are UK based authors and are in the romance genre. 2 of them have quite sad themes to them, so I feel like they're kind of on par with mine, because mine is a romance book but there's a lot of mental health struggles, character growth, and some sad things that happen. So I feel as if they sort of match my vibe almost. Statistical probability of love at first sight, I just found that quite funny, and I knew it was set in the UK, so I thought I enjoyed reading this one. Because the other thing to bear in mind about agent queries is you do need to talk about the books, the authors that they represent, and why you would fit on their roster kind of thing. Because if you look at all of the authors that they represent, then they all are quite similar to each other, or if they're not, there's themes woven through them that group them together. So I feel as if that's what you've got to bear in mind, because it's also not just why they would like your book, but also why would you like working with them, because they need to understand you. And if they've published books that are in similar themes or narrative or whatever, then more likely they're going to understand your needs as a romance author. But particularly for me, where grief is explored or mental health issues and things like that I do frequently write in my books, I'd want them to understand that. So I picked those. I'm going to have a little research now of the agents that are within these books. I'm not going to rush to do it, so I probably won't film myself doing it because it's like Sunday evening. I just want to chill. I'm going to watch the Kardashians. I'm still watching it, and probably Google these agents and see if they are open for queries, because this is the other thing, they might not be open for queries at the moment, but I'll get them on my spreadsheet. So we'll hopefully have a total of about 9 on my list that I'm going to plan my queries for and have a look into them in more detail. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.